Drivers out there are doing all right. I am Alex O'Neill, as always, joined by Andrew Taylor. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, what's going on?
Welcome
How you
back.
been?
We're in the village again. It's good.
We're in the village, back in the village.
Some folks really enjoyed that first episode. It's a little delayed going up edited wise, but we're here again to talk about the next little chunk of Resident Evil 8. If you're new to the show, welcome. If you're used to the show, welcome back. What's the Truman Show quote? If I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good luck, maybe?
Good luck.
I think there might be a good luck in there. I don't know, maybe. I was
Yeah.
going to say, hey, wish me good luck every single night before I go to bed, because
Yeah.
tomorrow's,
Tomorrow will
we
always
don't
be
know what's
hard.
happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just watched the Truman Show for the first time recently, so it's fresh. It's fresh in
I
me.
haven't seen that movie in ages, but I remember being depressed.
It's good.
It is a very good
It's
movie.
got a happy ending.
Yeah.
But we're back. We're not talking about Truman. We're talking about Lady Dimitrescu and her big
Dimitrescu.
body, her large tallness.
She is large and in charge, boys.
Yeah, she's in charge of that castle. So we left off last episode. We were kind of still going through parts of the game.
Yep.
We got through kind of basically the large opening up until meeting the four lords and
Mhm.
kind of getting that very scary dinner table-esque scene of being introduced to them. So now we're in like the first major part of that, which is Castle DImitrescu. And I figured for once we get into like these chunks of it, we don't necessarily have to go blow by blow, but kind of talk about that section as a whole.
Yeah.
And then end up kind of talking about the boss fight at the end, because all of these areas pretty much have a boss fight. So Castle DImitrescu, first place. It is worth noting, like when you kind of roll up to the castle for the first time, finally, this is when we finally get to meet the Duke.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Duke, man?
Love him.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely good on Ethan for having his reservations.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh,
Can't
hello,
just
Ethan
trust
Winters.
people in a horror movie. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, hello, Ethan Winters. And Ethan's like, who the fuck are you? How the hell do you know my name? And he's like, if you're anyone who's anyone, you or we know who you are or whatever. And I'm like, all right, I'm down with that. And he's just like, I just love his chill vibe. And obviously the character has some reservations, but me, I'm like, oh, this guy's great, love him. He literally rolled out of his like carriage that he has.
It kind of comes forward.
Yeah, it's great. But yeah, big fan of the Duke.
Yeah, I love the Duke. I always love a good shopkeeper.
Merchant.
Yeah.
Oh, love the shopkeepers.
And in
yeah.
any game, it's funny, like, I'm working on a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and weirdly, the characters that I, like, want to be the most stand out are the shopkeeper, because RPG, action game, horror movie, I feel like no matter what genre you're in, having, like, a very charismatic shopkeeper is absolutely always part of a good, like, build up. I have to kick my cat out of my room before he
No, that's fine.
By Apollo. But the Duke's great. He's very nice too. He's the only nice person you meet.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely here's the thing I love about merchants in video games is that there's never really a backstory. I mean, sure, there's some really like boring merchants in video games where they're just doing their job. They don't care. They'll sell you, here's, 10 bullets for 10 rupees, whatever. But like the Duke, you just know like right off the bat, like there's a cool backstory behind this guy.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about merchants in video games is that there's never really they don't really have the spotlight, but you just know for a fact, like, oh, there's probably a cool story behind this guy. Same thing goes for the guy from Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, there is a reference in this game to the Resident Evil 4 merchant, which I love.
Yeah. Super cute.
And so, yeah, Duke's great. Love him.
And like he has a carriage that he kind of rides around with, that we kind of find out a little bit later when we see him in it, and it's just like he's got all this stuff too. Like he's got like treasures, and sometimes the treasures that you sell him and find for him, he's like holding or wearing or carrying or examining. Especially like the combinable treasures that you find.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just love it. I love all the little touches with him, and it reminds
Yep.
me of obviously the merchant in RE4, who I feel like the Duke is kind of a big part of the homage, and he serves as you can upgrade your guns like that game and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and you sell treasures to him. But I loved also in RE4. There's like a part on the lake that you go to like the merchant's like his base, and he's got like a bunch of guns and stuff laying around.
Yeah.
I like the idea that the Duke has also kind of got like little settlements throughout this village because he's selling to the other guys too.
Yeah.
He's just here making money.
Yeah, I mean, like it even says it like in one of the ledgers that's like in the castle is
Yeah,
that oh the Duke's here to like do business or whatever. And like I get it, that's your job.
gotta make money, man.
You're an arms dealer, like that's totally fine. But I also the one thing I love most about him is like he just kind of shows up
Yeah,
in like the most weird locations, but I'm like, oh, you're here. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. He's on an elevator later that I was like, oh, okay. You
He
seem
just ride.
you seem pretty comfortable here.
Let's ride the lightning, baby. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
Like, all right, if you make my gun stronger, I'll take it. So we meet the Duke outside the castle. We get in the castle. We're kind of get that nice little introduction to
Mhm.
the daughters. Do you remember the daughters' names?
I don't.
I think
I
it's
do not.
Daniela is one. That's all I got.
Yeah.
They don't really matter.
I could. Yeah, I could make up names for them, but yeah.
Yeah, Daniela, something Ella, and then a third one that's different, as with all things. But we meet them. We meet Lady D. We get hooked up, literally, with the hooks in the hands. More hand
Yeah.
brutalization. And then we're kind of set off to explore the castle, figure it out from there, figure out how to kill the daughters and whatnot. How did you feel? I mean, this is like the first like big set piece esque thing in RE8. How are you feeling
Yeah.
coming to this?
Good. I like because I've talked about this is kind of how I play Resident Evil games is that I literally search for everything. So like I didn't even get to the castle probably till a couple of hours later after the village, but
Yeah.
once I finally got there, I'm feeling confident, I'm feeling good. I got everything I need, everything that I can be searched is searched. So kind of walking into that next area just felt like it felt good because I know that I'm progressing through the game. But then also it's like, oh, this almost feels I don't want to say it feels like a brand new game or anything like that, but like just, obviously from the village to go to the castle, it's just a complete like 180 shift, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Like
a very
it's
different
just
vibe.
yeah, it's like awesome. Give me, well, the village itself is kind of like Metroidvania stuff, but give me a castle just like RPD or like the Spencer Mansion or whatever, and give me some more puzzles to like solve and like get through places and find a ton of like secret passageways and stuff like that. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the castle teaming with all of that was so great.
This is like the most traditional part, Resident Evil part of
Yep.
this game, and it's just excellent. It's not too
It's so good.
long, like it's very long, but it's not too long. You don't spend like 5 hours here. You spend like
You can if you want.
you can
but-
if you want.
Yeah.
But it's like 2 to 4, more in that
Yeah.
range.
Yeah. There's definitely some rooms I missed,
Yeah.
which I was bummed about. And we both talked about that last time where it was like once you finally leave that castle you can't come
Can't
back.
ever go back. Yeah, which we're both kind of under the assumption that we could.
Yeah, I totally thought you could. But that's fine. My next playthrough I know kind of when that starts. Like if I go to this specific thing and I pick it up or whatever, like it's gonna start like it's gonna be like this is the end game for this specific section.
Yeah, and the thing I missed was the treasure room, like the iron door room that you find the map for and everything, which I was bummed about. Because again, I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I'll kind of loop around there. My whole thing, and this goes back to RE2, was like, all right, I'm just gonna deal with Lady D because I don't like her following me around this castle. I just want to be able to walk around this castle and find stuff on my own. So that's
Yeah.
why I was like, all right, I'm sure I'll be able to come back, so I'll just take care of her and then come back. can't cook.
Yeah.
Which is a
Yeah.
bummer, but
I was thinking the same thing you did too. Yeah.
it makes sense. And honestly, like going back to it, it's like they make it fun to kind of like juke around her, and they give you tons of. There's a lot of great little nooks and crannies throughout here.
Yeah.
That let exploration feel great.
Oh.
Do you have any like favorite parts of the castle?
Um, I like the secret passageways.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the most. Just kind of like think about it. Like think you were just like filthy rich. I mean, obviously this castle is built in like the Crusades or whatever, because like there's actually documents in the castle that are like, oh, this thing's been around for ages. But like, think if you were just like filthy rich. Like I'm not just gonna build a mansion that's just like that has like just 30 bedrooms and like 6 bathrooms or whatever. Like I'm gonna build a mansion with a ton of like secret places and stuff like that.
Totally.
And that's the stuff that I love discovering in the castle, where it's like, oh, there's a secret door here, and I need a key to get into it.
Yeah.
So I got to go find that key, or there's someone who I might have to destroy. I might have to kill one of the daughters or whatever to get to like this next section. I just love things like that, where it's like the progression stops, but you know exactly what you need to do to get to the next section, and it just progresses the story really nicely.
Yeah.
So yeah, those were definitely my favorite sections in the castle. Like there's even some of that stuff in the basement of the castle too. And I'd say the basement of the castle is probably my second favorite section of the castle.
Yeah. I
yeah.
ended up really liking the rooftop area. I like
Yeah.
the crazy like bat guys that come around. I like the cool zipline situation that you take, all of that, finding the mask and all that. But I really like the castle has like a huge tendency of taking you like all the way from the top floor all the way to the bottom floor, like back and forth pretty frequently. Like the first time you're running from Lady D and you have to like, or running from one of her daughters, you have to like break into a closet and you fall all the way to the dungeon, and you're kind of going through there, and then you take an elevator all the way back up right to Lady Dimitrescu's room, and then she throws you all the way down to the dungeon again, and then you get a great scene where she cuts off Ethan's hand again, which was great. I texted you when that happened, asking where you were in the game because I wanted to talk to you about that, and then later you texted me saying, "This dude's hands, I can't."
Yeah, I mean, I texted you and I was like, bro, like
the brutalization.
Like you got to be kidding. I didn't even like really tell you what it was.
I knew immediately.
But like Liza was watching me play, and Liza's my wife. Watching me play, and she was like, "Did he just get his hand cut off?" And I'm kind of flipping out, like, "Huh? Like, leave this guy's hands alone! Like, you literally just this has already happened to him. It happened on the other hand, the other game. Like, they fucking stapled it back to his body. Like,
it's so great.
It's so outrageous.
It's incredible.
And then it gets even better, where he grabs the damn thing that's like hanging on the lever while she's chasing. So she's chasing. Lady D is chasing you in the basement. Yeah, and you're like, okay, that's great. You juke her out, get back to where she cut your hand off. You pick up your hand, and then you go up this elevator. And what does Ethan do? Homie, like, takes out a thing of first aid juice and just pours it on his stub, and then takes his hand that's been cut off and literally just, like, sets it on.
He super glues it on.
I'm like, no. And that's when I texted you. I literally texted you after he did that, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great I love also just, she throws you down in the dungeon and you feel like you've kind of gotten away from her. You're walking around in an environment that's clearly like chase worthy, so you're like, all right, well, it's probably going to get bad. You reach for the lever and it's just so sudden, like, fink! And it's like, his hand's just still holding there. It's so, it is the most fucked anything has ever been.
Yeah.
Because I was so not expecting it in that moment. Like, and there's a lot of great times where this game, like, really fucks with your expectations. And really surprised me, which I was so into. because that doesn't happen a lot in games. Usually, I'm like, this is probably gonna go
You
one
kind of know
one of
where
two
it's going.
ways.
Same thing with movies too. Yeah.
Yeah, and this has like they're not huge moments, but they're like little moments that really shock you.
Yeah.
And this like the hand just getting full cut off by her fingers is like up there for me. I loved it so
Yeah.
much.
So, really quick here, now that we're kind of talking about Lady D,
Mm-hmm.
um, I remember texting you before the game came out, and I said I have a theory about her.
Yeah.
So my theory was that she's a tyrant. Like she's just like Mr. X, and
Mm.
she's just like Nemesis. Or she's kind of like the precursor to those guys. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure.
And I won't get into it. We can get into it later down the line when
Yeah.
we talk about the end game of the game. But that was kind of my theory
Your
was that
working theory.
yeah, I mean, because they have what is it like? They have things that like come out of areas, and I don't know. You know what I mean?
Like
Like
their
they
bodies
just
change.
yeah,
like,
their
organs,
bodies
stuff like
change
that.
and they evolve, and like she does that. Like
Yeah,
she's got like
she,
the
she's
razor
got, like,
fingers.
she's way too focused though. She's too coherent. That was always my like. This feels weird and different because like obviously Mr. X and the Tyrants are like dead silence
Oh yeah, they're just like.
robots basically.
I mean, Mr. X is just like I just want to get this over with
I
so I
guess,
can
you
go home
know,
to my wife.
Nemesis.
Yeah.
he roars a little bit.
Nemesis though is like yeah, I love doing this
He's
stuff.
more of an intelligent creature. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I like that theory though.
Yeah, and I would like to think of it like that way. Like having her be kind of like oh. Maybe I was the first or, whatever.
And she was like, we find she was like made in 1958 or something, I think, or she made The Daughters in 1958.
Yeah.
So
Oh, Lady D did?
yeah, one of the
Yeah.
documents reveals that in the castle. So we get a rough timeline for this stuff. Obviously, it kind of starts early 1900s, but we don't learn that till later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I working theories going through it. I honestly at this point I wasn't really sure because like I was so baited by the vampires and werewolves, which they technically are and technically aren't. They're bioweapons, but they're vampires and werewolves. So I was just kind of interested in where that angle went with it. I'm trying to think of any other highlights from the castle. There's a lot of great rooms and puzzles in there. There's the bell room. Where you have to shoot the 5 bells.
Yep. I had trouble with the 5th, but I
Yeah.
eventually figured it out.
I
literally was looking through it. I was like looking at every crack.
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too.
is there like a fucking miniature bell in here? Like, what am I missing?
Which was the last one for you?
Was the one out the window.
Okay, that was mine too. I had a moment where I like went up because I figured out that there had to be one on the chandelier at some point. So when I was aiming at the chandelier one out of my peripheral, I saw out the window the bell in the distance.
Oh.
It was very organic. I was like, this is what they wanted to happen.
Yeah, and unfortunately wasn't as organic for that, with me. But I mean,
I spent a long time looking at that room, to be fair.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself like, the people who make the people who make these games are never gonna be like, you have to search every centimeter of this room before you find like the answer to like this puzzle. So I was like, all right, let's just think where I've been in this room, and it's not like the biggest room either. And there's like a bunch of paintings in here, and you got the clock that's in the background with the bell. There's like one bell in there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, kind of just going through, and then I did eventually see it out the window, and I was like, oh, that's clever. Like I like that. Like I like. I wish it was more organic for me, like it was for you, but like I like the idea of them kind of doing something like that, where you're just. And you're also appreciating kind of the work that they've put into a lot of the detail of the game. Even though I'm like sitting there like, what am I missing here? It was still fun to kind of take a moment and like appreciate like how good this game looks.
Yeah, and you get the sniper rifle on the rooftop, so this is also a good kind of opportunity to break that out and get used to it, which is cool. They do a lot of great stuff with that.
I didn't think of it. I didn't think about that. I never used the sniper rifle to see that out the window. I shot it with my pistol.
Yeah. I was shooting the chandelier with my sniper rifle, so
I should have done that. Yeah.
I mean, I was down for overkill. The goal here is to get into an annexed church in the castle that might have a weapon to hurt Lady Dimitrescu. But to do so, we have to find these 4 masks. Doing so it requires a lot of the puzzles we already talked about. I like the one where you had to like go get the deer head to put on the statue, which was good because it gets you to examine objects. Again, a lot of great traditional Resident Evil stuff in this castle.
And they kind of did something that RE7 did with that deer head puzzle. Specifically for the deer head, was that it were like 2 pieces. One of them was kind of like a placeholder to keep it in place. Do you know what I mean? Kind of like with the shotgun, in yeah, I liked that.
That's
kind of like a
classic
subtle
Resident Evil
callback.
stuff,
Yeah.
and a lot of the I will say just like shout outs to how this whole castle looks. It's just incredible. It's one of the best looking environments. One of the best looking like internal like inside castles in a video game I think I've ever seen in my life. And
it's gorgeous.
It's awesome. Like obviously homage to RE4's castle, but and much like that, like there's not a lot of like straight up sterilely clean environments in Resident Evil. It's kind of not the vibe that they're trying to do, and this is it. And it's it's obviously gothic and Victorian and terrifying, and kind of like when you get those chill windows that like blow in that cold breeze, you definitely feel the coldness of it. It's just great. It's an excellent environment. Most of the environments in this game are so. I know beating a dead horse here, but it's a fucking good horse.
Yeah.
So then we eventually get our masks, we get our dagger, and we're off to fight Lady Dimitrescu. How bad did you think this was gonna go? Pretty immediately.
I mean, I knew that it was gonna be better than fighting her daughters.
Yeah.
Because
which were just fighting dudes.
Yeah, those smaller boss fights that you do have with her daughters are pretty straightforward, right? Like it's their weakness is being outside, and using that to your advantage to destroy them is cool.
Yeah,
and I loved, kind of like once you finally defeated them, they kind of just froze in place, kind of like Medusa statues or whatever, and then they just like crumble. I loved like that whole effect. And then you'd get like treasures or whatever, or you'd get like another piece of the puzzle to kind of progress forward throughout the castle. But yeah, I mean, once you finally get down to business with Lady D, and she's transforming into her final form, which is just like the most RE thing ever.
Yep.
Kind of like almost over the top RE.
Yeah.
Like, and I was okay with it. I mean, I didn't like hate her final form. I was like, oh, see, like that's kind of like what I was expecting, like same thing with Nemesis. Like he's just like this big old like Resident Evil looking dog thing.
Yeah.
But she's like this dragon. This like big old dragon.
She looks like the gaping dragon from like Dark Souls. She looks like a Bloodborne monster.
She looks like a Bloodborne boss.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, they leaned into it. You can tell.
Yeah, I don't hate it. And I was like, from what I've seen of Resident Evil 6, they're kind of like taking a little bit of that too from there.
Yeah.
And putting that into this game. And like I said, I'll probably beat this horse for the remainder of this podcast, especially for this season. But this game feels like the greatest hits of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's
not a bad thing.
I don't think that's a bad thing at all whatsoever, especially with the way they pulled it off.
Yeah. And we'll talk about
they're giving all fans something to be happy about, I guess.
Yeah, and they're also doing it in a way to like set up a kind of next kind of they're setting something up. It's not like it feels like a good kind of endpoint for a section of the overarching story of Resident Evil, and they're trying to do justice to that. So mechanically, all these like little things is cool, and like this feels super RE4, and just how a lot of the boss fights do. I feel, which is a good thing. I think RE4 has some of the better boss fights. But absolutely. It turns into like you're kiting it around.
Yeah.
a big tower and shooting at her. I appreciate
Yeah.
how many different scenarios they get you to like fight her. Like sometimes she's out flying in the sky,
Mhm.
sometimes
Yeah.
she's chasing you and you're trying to get like a moment to shoot her. Sometimes she sends swarms of bugs after you, like her daughters, and you either have
Yeah.
to avoid those and shoot her or something. Um, it is a lot
You
of
know what I?
chasing.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you good. You're good.
What I was gonna say is, you know what I love about video games is how they just know that we know what we need to do.
Yeah.
Like, like it's this lady who's like sticking out of this giant. Her body is now a piece is like is a dragon, and like she has like this mutated form where her body's like sticking out the top of her like her dragon form, and it's just like the most ridiculous thing, right? But they don't tell you like, oh, there's what are her weak points?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she's sticking out the side of this thing. I'm just gonna shoot it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep shooting her, and she's gonna flail around and be like, ah, and then 50 more times of that, and then she's gonna be dead. But what I'm saying is like, I just love that we know that that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And they don't need to tell us that just because we've played video games for the majority of our lives, and that's just always been like, that piece of the boss that's like a little bit different color. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's
that
the,
doesn't look right.
It's the
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera effect.
Yeah.
The fucking wall that is the brick wall that
Yep.
has like 5 bricks that are lit up, and clearly that's how you smashed out or something. It's totally
Yeah,
that.
like, yeah, it's totally that. I love that.
Yeah, I think because I've been watching. Shout out just a quick plug here for somebody else, the Scary Game Squad, which is Jesse Cox and many friends like the Completionist Gerard and everything. Four of them play scary games all the time. I've been watching their Resident Evil 8 playthrough. I love watching them play any and all horror games. Highly recommended. It's very fun.
That's great.
Alex Fossiani dropped the Hanna-Barbera effect line in there about something else, but it's like, yes, that's totally what it is.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, right,
like
yeah.
you're pulling out a larger conversation about like video game conveyance and how there's like a universal language to games, and I love that stuff totally. And
Yeah.
Resident Evil is great about like hitting all the marks, like
Yep.
oh, there's we'll talk about it later in this episode, but like there's a you need to get scissors to cut bandages, and there's like a moment where they give you the scissors, and then right in front of there are bandages that you have to cut to kind of let you know like this is what you need this for.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, this is game design. This is great.
Yeah.
Reshoot Lady D a lot. I like also you're fighting, and then eventually you have to kind of climb up the center point of this tower, and then she's fighting you on this very kind of small enclosure, which I actually kind of liked. I thought that was like a cool way to like racket up the tension for the end of the fight. But she like, and this is true of later boss fights as well. If she's gonna charge you, she like glows, like flashes red like a fucking Street Fighter character. And
Oh,
then
really?
charges. Yeah, it's super weird.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, she doesn't do it. She only does it for like her strongest attack. But it goes like
Okay.
like a wave across her body, like from front to back, like wow, of red, and then she charges, like a very video gamey. I was like, oh wow,
I was probably too busy
like screaming
running
and
the
shooting.
opposite direction.
yeah.
Like trying to distance myself from her to, put some shots into her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I was very low on health, and I was like, I'm probably gonna die, so I'm just gonna get up all over her face with this shotgun. And we're
Yeah.
I didn't die, so.
Yeah.
We eventually I also like at the beginning of this fight she like turns into the dragon obviously and then picks you up and flies around, and then there was a moment in there where I'm like, is this what this fight is? 'Cause
Yeah.
I was
like, yeah.
really scared.
Yeah. But another thing about that though is like you can see everything.
Yeah, you
and
can
I
see
think
the whole
that
castle.
alone is really cool. Like
Yeah.
it's almost kind of like Harry Potter-esque, like when he's fighting the
I
dragons.
immediately
and-
thought of the Harry Potter dragon fight.
Yeah, in
the fourth movie
Goblet of Fire,
where they
yeah.
fly around the castle for no reason. It doesn't happen in the book. It doesn't happen. It's fine. But yeah, it's
Purists.
purist. It's cool. It's a good fight.
Yeah.
It's inoffensively short. You get to use this. Again, they give you a reason to use the sniper rifle, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Did you use it in this fight?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Good.
especially when she's flying around everywhere. But I'd say at this point, like, because we've talked about the Duke being able to upgrade your weapons. Like, this thing is pretty bare.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, my shit's like swaying all over the place, you know.
Yeah.
And, I mean, yeah, you
Ethan
know,
Winter's
and
trembly right hand is like not really holding it together.
exactly, and you know, I just super glued my hand about 30 minutes ago
Yeah,
onto my
yeah, it's a
body,
rough
and
time.
yeah, it's a whole ordeal. But yeah, I mean, like I definitely used the sniper rifle for this battle, but when she got up, you know, close and personal, it's the shotty and the pistol for sure. But
Yeah, great first
yeah,
shotgun in this game.
great fight, and then you know. I think what she picks you up again, and then you go to that church
You
section
crash
of the
through the
castle.
bottom of the castle to the
That was
church.
cool.
Yeah,
I liked that little um, set piece cutscene.
yeah,
But I'm like, Ethan, Jesus Christ, like
yeah. His
you can take a beating, bro.
his one liner here is very disappointing. I don't know if you remember it.
I don't
But
remember it.
we crash down and we get up. We get the Dimitrescu treasure, and Ethan's line is, "You're the one that's cursed." And
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, come on.
Wah, wah, wah,
Yeah.
wah. Yeah, it's like, oof. Check your notebook, Ethan. Like, make sure,
Yeah.
you know, like
We
maybe
gotta
he's
work on
got like
this.
a, yeah,
He's got
maybe
like
he
crossed
wrote
out
it down on
pages.
his arm. Well, probably not, because you know he might
Yeah,
get
he
his
might
arm
lose
cut
it.
off. But
Yeah.
yeah, but like maybe he's got it like written in his journal. Like, here are my one-liners for when I beat the shit out of all these people.
Yeah, yeah.
Bingo. Like,
You're the one that's
but
cursed.
yeah,
And
someone
he's
should
got
have
like a little
probably.
smiley face written next to it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
It is
dude,
worth
you might want
noting.
to.
Before we leave the castle, because we're about to leave the castle, I want to give a shout out when you're in the save room here with the Duke. There is the first of 4 treasure puzzles, and I think there is like some kind of equivalent in RE4, but there are unique labyrinths that they call them in each region that you have to find some ball to go through this weird,
Yeah,
shaky
yeah,
labyrinth puzzle, and they're easy or whatever, but I just like the idea of like, you know, it has its own little story. This architect that, you know, lived in
yeah.
this village that was crazy and buried his 4 wives and these 4 like little treasure things, and they're all crystallized.
Yeah,
Super buck wild, but I love all that stuff.
that dude was sad.
That dude, it was a
That
sad
dude was
guy.
really sad. He needed a hug.
Yeah, he probably needed a hug, or maybe one more wife would have fixed it.
Yeah, or yeah, maybe another wife might have solved that hole in his heart. But yeah, I mean, like I like those puzzles. Like Liza was watching me do those puzzles, and she's like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, they haven't really done anything like this before.
Yeah.
Not that I remember."
It reminded me of like doing the extra side quest stuff in RE4 to get the like base treasure that you would put the gems in, like the crown and stuff like
Yep,
that.
yep.
And this wasn't like they have stuff like this here. Like there's a Lady Dimitrescu's crypt and stuff that you can find if you go looking for it with her necklace and whatever. But not these crystal skulls. They're just kind of like big payouts if you explore the area that you're in. It's kind of a nice little reward for exploration.
Yeah, it really is. Those things are worth like 30 grand or whatever. Like
Yeah.
a very pretty penny when you collect all of them.
Yeah. So we crash through the bottom of the church and get the first kind of yellow flask. Not really sure what it is yet, but it was important to Lady D. And then we take that, and we also get. No, we don't get the key yet, but we head on back to the village. Take a nice little roundabout, scary tunnel. Run into the old lady. Everybody's favorite, extremely sus old lady.
But Ethan is very calm around her.
Yeah, he's
which,
like, what are these, human skulls? That's neat.
yeah.
I'm
It's
never
like,
gonna
oh,
let that go.
that's nice. Yeah.
She indirectly gives us a key, and we get introduced to that big kind of mosaic, the stone mosaic of the 4 lords, with the umbrella symbol in the middle. Just kind of left to let that hover over us for a while.
Yeah.
And then we
Very like Fifth Element esque kind
Yeah.
of. Like if you've seen Fifth Element, yeah. But I'm trying to think of like other things I could kind of relate that to. But I like that idea of like this is very cryptic. Like what is this thing? What does it do? You know, like I love just, you know, putting like I'm like, okay, now the game has basically said this is your goal.
yeah.
And it took you, depending on how fast you play, it took you 4 hours to get to this point for you to figure out, oh, okay, like and you kind of knew it from the opening credits too, like from the fairy tale thing, like, oh, these are the bosses I'm gonna have to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But like the that specific section when you get to the crypt, like with the symbols and stuff like that, or whatever you want to call that, like
Yeah.
the sacrificial area or whatever, that alone just kind of is like, hey, you have defeated the first boss, and this is what you need to do to get to, the end goal or whatever. I just appreciated that a lot, and it looked really cool.
Yeah, I guess that hadn't sunk into me, but luckily later on you kind of walk back to the village and Duke basically very like hard sets that up for you of like, all right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
here's the deal. He you like initially you come to him and he's like, hey dude, what's up? You should check out this creepy house in the village with the red chimney or whatever, and you'll get
Yeah.
your answers there. Which you kind of now you get a nice little fight through the village again. You're back home base. You touch home base. You feel good. Did it feel good to backtrack somewhere for you, Andrew? Because I was like comforted. I was like, oh,
Absolutely.
it's nice. I can get
Yeah,
those shotgun shells that I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like that's the thing. It's the backtracking that does it for me. I love Metroidvanias. Like that's probably my favorite genre of video games is Metroidvanias. So backtracking just obviously feels natural, and going back to the village and like some doors are actually smashed open now, so that leads to new areas, or like say there was like an overturned like carriage or whatever in the middle of the road, now that's gone, or like whatever. I love that sort of thing where like, oh, while we're progressing through
Things are
like these
happening.
other four main areas, there's the village is also kind of progressing as itself, and it's changing and it's opening different areas for you to go explore when you come back from defeating like one of the lords or whatever.
Yeah. Now, did you?
So I love that. Yeah.
Well, while we're exploring the village, going in that house to get we're getting the winged key.
Yep.
Or no, we got the winged key from the grandma, from the hag.
Yep.
But
It just has two wings at this point.
yeah, we got to get more pieces to it. So we're looking for the next piece that the Duke kind of puts us on to. Did you find, at this point, Chris's little secret computer?
I did.
Yeah, me
and
too. Were
I
you
love
stoked?
that.
Yeah, I was. So
I was like,
stoked.
these fuckers around here are there's some like
Yeah,
they're
Chris is
around
somewhere.
here.
Yeah, I gotta find Chris.
And I, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like other good examples of video games where like stuff like this happens and it excites me. From what I remember, and I know I need to beat it, but from what I remember, Evil Within 2 kind of does this.
Yeah.
Here and there.
This game, I'm also like I haven't yet, but this has a lot of Evil Within 2 DNA in it, in a very very good way. It's extremely good.
Yeah, rightfully so.
It's a great game.
So, yeah, I got super pumped. I was like, these guys are around here. They're doing stuff. I want to know what they're doing. They left their computer here.
And a microscope.
And like,
everywhere Chris
yeah,
Redfield goes, he leaves a microscope.
yeah, I'm like, all right, well, I guess
He's
he's
got
on the beat.
microscopes to spare. These are $40,000, I'm pretty sure, but okay.
Yeah, and we just set up in like this really kind of cult-like church. Like,
yeah,
I guess
just-
let's
it
leave
just
all
took a
the
knee.
expensive stuff here. Yeah.
He
but
saw the typewriter in the church. He's like, oh, this place is safe.
yeah, we're good here.
We're
Like,
good. No.
guys,
James,
this is,
bring in the microscope.
yeah, bring it in, set it up, we're good.
Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, like another. This is a much more specific example, but like in Metroid Fusion, there's great like indication, which is another great Metroidvania
So good.
game that uses backtracking in a great way. You'll go back to areas and like the SAX will have destroyed parts of the lab and stuff as they're on their rampage, like hunting you. And then also at the end of Metroid Fusion, a bunch of Metroids get out. Who would have fucking thunk? And you get to see a bunch of like Metroid shells and stuff around the environment. It's like, oh, this place has changed. So yeah,
I know it's a Resident Evil podcast, but
our next podcast will be a
Metroid
Metroid
Fusion
podcast.
and Metroid Zero Mission, put those puppies on Switch, and you will never hear from me ever again.
They
Like,
only
for
take
real.
6 hours to beat, but Andrew will just play them until he dies.
I'll just continue to play them over and over and over again. So, I mean, hey, Nintendo knows what they need to do, but
Yeah.
back to Resident Evil. Thank God that Resident Evil knows what's up.
Yeah, luckily they're like, we're just gonna put out a game every 2 years for you guys. keep
Done and
pumping.
done.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
As long as they don't go full Resident Evil 6, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah.
But so we return to Duke after we find a notebook kind of explaining the keys and what happened to Rose. Rose was turned into a little ice crystal baby and broken into 4 pieces, which in the moment, kind of hard to swallow.
Yeah.
I appreciate
And it's
that.
really hard to swallow for Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan is upset, and I'm like, yeah, I would be too. I love this though because I mean, there's so much, to go along with Resident Evil denying expectations. It starts. This is a reference to the End of Zoe DLC, which I don't know if you played, Andrew, but
I did not. I
didn't,
still need to
but
go
I watched
back.
the Scary
Yeah.
Game Squad play it. Again, shout out to them. It's great because Zoe turns into like a crystal, and you play as Joe Baker, Jack Baker's brother, her uncle, and he comes in and he punches a bunch of molded. Not kidding. This is all real, and he saves Zoe. And I believe she is cured by. He finds a cure that saves her, and she goes from Ice Crystal back to Zoe by the end of that, which is good. Don't really find out what happened to them, but that's fine. I assume Chris Redfield helped him out. So again,
Probably.
this is like a thing that we learn, the mold people can do. So it's our first like little setup of that might be coming back into play. And which, obviously, if you hadn't figured that out at this point. And it's also like it's like your daughter's already fucked, dude. It's a real harsh revelation, It's
Definitely a tough pill to swallow. I mean, like, I get it, like this is a video game, but like think about being put in that situation and you're like, wait, what? Like, you're traumatized as is. Homie, like, he got his arm cut off already. He had it cut off in the first game, but like, it's just pain. Like, this game is just pain. Like, it's just pain for Ethan's character, but it's endearing as well because it's like, yeah, if you were put in this situation, yeah, you would like continue to push forward and like,
you got nothing else to do,
Yeah, you got to fight for your daughter, and I appreciate that, especially trying to put some emotional beats in this game for Ethan, who's just this kind of like this almost
milquetoast
rag doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who just gets the ass whooped out of him left and right.
Yeah. But like I don't want to say he's having a good time while he's doing it or while it's happening, but like I love the cheesy, cocky lines from him.
Except for the Lady DImitrescu line. That was good enough.
And it's like, all right, let's probably workshop that next time. But like, but you know what I mean? Like, it's cheesy Resident Evil, but there's still like emotional beats behind it. And I totally understand it from like a father standpoint. Like, I'm not a dad myself, but like, I feel like if I was put in the same situation, like this is how I'd probably try to handle it too.
Yeah.
It's like my daughter's a crystal baby now and she's 4 pieces. Like, how do you put that information together?
I really I like the aspect of Ethan. We get the flask, right? And we're kind of carrying it around knowing it is important. And then it is the Duke that tells us like, you have your daughter right there, and then he like rubs off the smudge, the condensation, and it's like rosemary head, and it's like I love the realization that this item that we've been carrying is already part of what we've been looking for as like a player. I think that's really cool. And it was surprised. Like, I was genuinely surprised. It's like been a fucking day since his wife got shot up, and his daughter's already in pieces.
Yeah, it like that alone. I think because it's like such a drastic change. You know what I mean? Like the last time you saw your daughter, you were putting her to bed at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Now you're 4.5 hours, maybe 5 hours into the game, and the next time you see your daughter, she's this crystal thing,
a part of a piece in a jar.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you
process
put
that?
Those pieces? Yeah, how do you process?
How do you put those pieces together? Yeah, I agree.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It is absurd. It's very Resident Evil. It's like so absolutely unrealistic. But it's working within the confinement of like, I just went through a castle and fought a dragon on top of a vampire lady. Or a vampire lady on top of a dragon body. We're all playing it by ear. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was cool that it's such a harsh reality that they hit you with. But
Yeah.
obviously it's Resident Evil, so I'm sure we can save this kid.
Yep.
But it's off to the next area now. We get to the good stuff.
Good old
Oh,
House
House
Beneviento.
Beneviento. We're
What a
off to
lovely place.
what's the doll's name? I keep forgetting it.
Angie. Angie's the doll.
Donna and
And then
Angie.
Donna is the puppet master, I guess
So-
you could say.
We're off to find Donna and Angie, the next lord, going through a graveyard. Always a good start.
Yeah.
Seeing visions of your dead wife.
That's fun.
It's fun, dude. It's all good. You get that,
But it's like, it's foggy as shit.
yeah.
And that alone right there, I got a problem with. Like, I ain't walking through any forest where there's fog. Like, just no.
There's the creaky bridge too. You get the rope bridge.
Yep.
The
And there's like
full
10 other
runway.
bridges, and I'm like, something's gonna jump off of here onto this
This
bridge.
bridge is
and
gonna break. I'm gonna fall.
Yeah.
Which would have been a very Resident Evil 4 thing to do. I knew when you're going up to this, and I'm sure you knew too, and the fog was setting in. I'm like, it's about to get spooky.
Yeah.
And I was so excited.
Yeah.
You get to this really cool, like, circular grave. Very, again, Bloodborne was the first thing I thought. There's a similar grave in Bloodborne that very much stands out in my mind. And a lot of good, like, creepy-looking flowers in the fog. We get to an elevator that says "Give up your memories to progress." They make you use that the family photo. Love that.
Photo that you have.
Love
Yeah.
that.
I didn't know. Like, I can't remember which puzzle it was where I actually asked Liza to help me. I don't think it was this one. It might have been a different one, but like, I didn't understand it for like the longest time, and I'm like, there's no way I missed anything. There's no reason to backtrack and look for something. But then I think that like the slot, like a mail slot
Yeah.
essentially. I was like, oh, that's right. I have this photo. It's a memory. It's
Yeah.
Mia and Rose. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. And that's how you open the door.
I just
to
love
the
that they
next-
made you use that item that you start with, right? Like you have to carry around Mia's fucking driver's license the entire first game or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, and you never use it, so this having its kind of explicit purpose here is great. You're going up the elevator, and just the PT vibes immediately start. And we're getting a lot of PT references here that are very good, not bad in any way. But the lights turn off in the elevator, and I'm sure Andrew, you're like,
No. I was like, nah.
then there's
Like,
written
yeah.
in blood on the elevator wall. It's like come to me, Ethan. Like, let's be together
Yeah.
forever or something.
Like, oh, that's nice. Thanks for that.
but-
Yeah, I was playing this in the middle of the day at this point. I was like, I'm not doing this part at night. Hell no.
It was like afternoon for me at this point, but I wanted it to be night so bad. And then
Yeah.
there's a lot of great shots. We talked about the one where you kind of come out in the village and you get to see all the parts of the village. This shot
Yeah.
of House Beneviento when you come out of that cave is fucking
Yep.
incredible.
Yeah, it was great.
It's
Like,
just so
yeah, it's
spooky.
Gorgeous.
The
Yeah.
waterfall in the background, so it's creating that mist, that Sierra mist. It's just getting
Yes.
you.
Yeah, like I tweeted, I took a screenshot of that on my PS5, and I tweeted, I found this nice, lovely little place on Airbnb. Like, can't wait to stay here
Can't wait
for the
to stay
weekend.
here. Yeah, it's gonna be.
And then after I left the house, I quote tweeted that tweet, and I said, "Fuck this place straight to hell." Like, because I mean, it's like, it is a very cool looking location.
Yeah.
Like, this is very like Van Helsing, Dracula-esque, like even just like the castle, but like, you know, like,
It's
oh,
a
this is cool.
totally
Like, this is
other kind of creepy, you know? It's
yeah, it's
so
just
cool.
it's its own gothic creepiness that is great. Yeah, I love that it's just like in the back of like this waterfall essentially.
Yeah, it's just if it was a real not covered in blood place, I would love to live here. But
Very
again,
desolate.
no dolls. Zero
No
dolls.
dolls.
Yeah, you're gonna have to run
0
fiber up
dolls.
there, but I don't want to be bothered. The DoorDash
Yeah.
guy can take the elevator. But
Give up your memories. He's like, all right, here's the
DoorDash guy's
receipt for
like,
the
"All
fucking
right,"
pizza.
puts his phone through the mail slot.
That's pretty great.
That is really great. Yeah, Angie's like, can I get 2 cheesesteaks? Over the little doll on the phone.
Crazy bread, please.
We get in the house and there's dolls
Everywhere.
everywhere.
I
And we
hate dolls.
didn't have to talk about this, you and I, but we both have very specific triggers when it comes to dolls.
Yeah,
Everyone
not
has,
a fan of dolls.
no
Yeah.
one likes dolls.
And I'm not
refuse.
afraid of clowns like a lot of people. to
That's
be honest.
crazy. Clowns are
Yeah.
terrible. Pennywise is gonna eat your ass, buddy.
Oh, Pennywise sucks, yes, but everyone else.
That's
is
all
cool.
clowns are Pennywise. Let's just be real. But and I hate dolls. And you know, shout out to the one Goosebumps book cover with the fucking doll on it. Absolutely 10 out of 10. Fuck that. Shout out to Chucky. Ruined me as a kid. Can't even look at a box art of Chucky without getting creeped out.
Same.
True story.
Even though those movies are probably like hilarious
Oh,
now,
they're like super campy and ridiculous, but
I still
I just don't like the
ain't
stall
doing that.
thing. Cabbage Patch Kids
I ain't
ruined.
doing Chucky.
And of course the infamous Twilight Zone episode where the fucking ventriloquist gets ventriloquized by the ventriloquist dummy. Absolutely no.
Guard.
So all of that coming into here, I am fucking terrified. And I'm like in the mood. So I'm like loving
Yeah.
it. But I am with you of like, do not like dolls. Do not like this. Resident Evil has never fucked with dolls before. I don't know why they decided to fuck with them now. But man, I mean, we're here now. We're in House Beneviento, so we'll get into it. But this is top to bottom, absolutely stellar. This part of this game, I think, is fucking excellent.
Yeah, it's unique in its own way, and it alone is kind of like, oh, this is like the Resident Evil style of PT,
Yes,
and
But-
what we played with PT all those years ago.
but it takes it as an inspiration to do its own thing, which I really
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah.
And there's a ton of great things that deny your expectations, things that feel reminiscent of RE7 as well here.
Yep.
The gist is, we go down to the basement of this terrible, terrible house, and Angie takes all our guns away and says, "All right, welcome to my hell. Welcome to this terrible autopsy
Thanks,
room
Angie. Yeah.
where you have to dissect your doll of your shot-to-dead wife."
Yeah.
Which is great and terrible, and it's
This is my favorite puzzle of the game.
Oh,
by the
totally. I
way.
mean,
Like,
it is a
this-
puzzle corpse. It is like literally
Yeah.
an escape room where the centerpiece is like a corpse with puzzles in it. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's great. All of this is great. You get the wedding ring off the finger. You wash it to see the anniversary date. But the anniversary date, if you remembered it from RE7, it'll still work. It's the same
Yeah.
date. 05/29/2017 or 2011 or whatever.
Yeah.
And you all the little clues, like getting the tweezers to take the film grain out of the mouth. It's just great, and the vibes are like 10 out of 10. It is so
Yeah.
tense.
Yeah.
They're ratcheting the tension up to 11.
Lights are flickering every once in a while, like not off, like not intense or anything like that. But
There's
you
enough.
hear like you hear like creaking boards, things like that.
And
Just
then
like
Mia's voice coming through the
atmospheric.
radio. I
Yep.
should have told Ethan. I should have told. We have to tell. I had to tell him. I can't. And then just the cut to like her just sobbing. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be. It's like, it again reminiscent of PT, but takes it in a totally unique way because like there's this personal attachment between the character and what you're hearing. You're still seeing the visions of
Yep.
Mia walking past windows, and you're like in a basement that you took an elevator to. Like, it wasn't until like the second time going through of like contextualizing this house because regardless of these being visions or drugs that cause you to see whatever, think about this place that Donna has set up, and this is you take this creaky elevator down to this like weird house with like a downstairs apartment with a kitchen, and it's like people were probably living down here and experimenting on things down here, and you start to like really think about this place outside of the context of what you're even doing there, and it's like this bad shit happened here.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there. And another thing about that place specifically is if you notice, I know that we're not quite at this part yet, but like if you notice, like there's this flower that's everywhere around this place.
Yeah.
It looks just like marijuana. I will tell you this right now. And I'm laughing my ass off. I am a stoner, but like I'm laughing my ass off because I'm like, she get down? Like, like I get it. You know, we're living in this house.
Is DB down to do B? You know me?
Yeah, exactly. You know, is DV down to do V?
Beneviento.
Yeah, I love that. And it's just like it's everywhere. It's just
everywhere.
on every table. Every time I turn a corner, there's another like end table with this
really
bud
funny.
just sitting right there. And I'm like, all right, so she's down to party.
Welcome to the
But, like-
the Resident Evil Village dispensary.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just like progressing through that house and like solving that puzzle, like the Mia corpse, I think alone is just like next level. Like
Yeah.
it is my favorite puzzle. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite section of the game, but like specifically
Yeah, it's hard.
that.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, it is. Like it definitely is up there, but like just that puzzle alone and like that basement alone, I think is a lot of fun to like
Just be
traverse.
in for a little bit, and
Be
it's good to like. I you know there's a lot of criticism about this game either way here. I love this section too because it is absolutely the right length. It is like relatively short, but you know, and it because it's one of those scary things. Like you could be like sitting in a corner for 45 minutes if you wanted to, which definitely happened to me for some of the time. But it doesn't overstay its welcome in any way. Like they get you in and they do a lot of great things to make you feel tense as you're going in. You know, I'm already at an 11 because of dolls. Don't like the dolls, but they, you know, then they take your weapons away and they kind of make you sit in that environment. And there's not a lot of hazards for a lengthy amount of time. Eventually there is, right? That you have to kind of run from this giant terrible baby, which is a very good monster, but absolutely terrible. And it's just, it is great, again, to go back to the pacing thing we were talking about the last time, like, similar to getting, once you're in the castle, you know, you kind of get met with Lady D and her daughters right away, and then it is, like, slowly ratcheting up the tension of, like, you meet one of her daughters, you fight one of her daughters, then you meet up with Lady D, and now you run away from her, and, you know, like they go through the motions here. You get to the house, you're walking around, there's no hazards, all your guns get taken away, the stakes are high, you're solving this puzzle, then eventually you're being chased by this giant baby. You know, you arrange all the film reels and you watch that super creepy movie, and when that movie started, I thought it was going to be Ethan in the baker's house finding Mia when she was like crawling up the stairs in the basement. I really thought it was going to end up being that. But instead it is like you later on going to this creepy well and going down this terrible well and kind of going from there. Yeah, it's great. It's just 10 out of 10 tension.
Yeah, and it's a callback to The Ring, you know, like it's a callback to a lot of different like horror.
It's a PT. It's a callback to
PT.
And you know,
The
they
Ring.
even do the repetition thing of like they make you kind of go through that hallway a couple of times just to like they drop the painting just to freak you out. They drop the arm.
Oh my god!
There's a lot of great like little jump scares that are just fucking with you.
Yeah, the door opens like when
Yeah.
you're walking back, and I'm like, for the love of God, like this house is already awful as is. Like, can we just like chill for a little bit, like while I explore this area? But I totally expected things like that to happen. Like I knew it was coming, but like it's just so like, especially the painting.
Yeah.
The painting is just like instant.
It just happens.
You know?
You're like,
Whoa, fuck. Yeah.
it's awesome.
It's awful. Awful and awesome.
Awful and awesome all at the same time.
Yeah.
Eventually, you know, we get away from the baby and get back up the elevator. But then
Ugh, hate that.
it's doll time. You thought you could get away from the dolls. But also, this is where I mentioned it earlier. But like you're going through the puzzle, you get the scissors that you need to cut the bandages. And they have the bandages laid out in front of you to use them. It's very cool.
But I loved that when you turned that corner, because this is like another one of those secret doorways that we're kind of talking about. But like when you turn that corner in that specific like little section that's secret, it's just dolls all over the wall.
Yeah.
And the scissors is sticking in one of the
in their
dolls. And you're
hands.
just like, oh, this is awful.
Yeah.
Yep. Hate that.
And also, like, as you're running from the baby down in the basement, you'll at some point see Angie, like the white doll, like laying on the ground, not doing
Oh,
anything, but just there.
I miss that.
Yeah, she's there in a couple places. It's very
I
annoying.
hate I hate that, when you're waiting for that elevator.
Yeah,
I'm literally like, you press the button to like make this thing come down, and this, like, I can hear this thing behind me. I switch
yeah.
around really quick, and it's right freaking there. Like, and my first instinct is literally to press the button again, like you would in real life. Like, fucking yeah, like, and the doors just like it like the elevator finally comes down, and the
The door's
doors
so
just like,
slowly, like,
I'm like,
ugh.
come on, and this thing's right behind me. I get in like at the last second.
Yeah.
Love that. Hate it. Love it. Yeah.
But we get up top, and then we have to play hide and seek with Angie,
Angie.
which
Good old Angie.
another, like, again, just all of the payoff of the tension that's built in this area is then further paid off in this fight, where you're hearing the doll screaming and giggling, and you're like turning.
You're tripping balls at this point.
Yeah, you can
'Cause
see,
remember-
like, the whole fucking shit, and like
Yeah,
it's all weird and yellow, and
Yeah.
you're running around. The dolls are vibrating and shaking.
It was that bud that she left out.
Yeah, all that butt sheet, like she just lit one on fire in the kitchen and just steamed up the
Those
place.
dank nugs,
Hot-
as the kids like
she
to call
wanted
them.
to hotbox you in that basement that didn't have any windows.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like, I love this. It's such a great, because it's super simple.
Very simple.
Take too long, the dolls will do damage to you, but just
God.
super great of like desperately looking around for Angie just to fucking stab her in the gut.
And it was another thing. It was like it was almost like another call out too to Toy Story, specifically the rejected toys from the first movie.
Yeah.
Where like there's like one with like the baby head, and it kind of has like the spider body.
Yeah.
There was one of those in here too.
Yeah.
It was like floating in the air, and like its whole body is just like a bunch of fucking knives, and I'm like, oh my god, this is awful.
Yeah.
I hate this. Yeah, you eventually find her, stab her 3 times, and
It's great.
Bob's your uncle.
Did you get
know?
there's a, I don't know if it's an achievement or trophy, but it's a challenge for beating this in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I might have gotten that. I mean, I was bum rushing every corner. Like, I was like, I gotta just find
Get me outta
this
here.
little. I might have gotten that trophy. I might not have, but I know
got it
the
on my third
sequence
try.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because sometimes she'll be in different spots.
Oh, didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, it's
That's
terrifying.
awful.
Yeah, that's awful.
Don't know that for next time. I'll probably
Um,
forget it.
But yeah, I love that you're like following like trails of blood on the walls too. It's so good,
Yeah.
so good.
Lots of stuff happening here, but mostly awful.
After you stab the doll in the face, and it's got like a little thing inside the head of the doll. It looks like this is our kind of first introduction to this little thing.
Cadow. Yeah.
Yeah, Gadoost. Is it?
Yeah,
do you
whatever-
say Gadao
whatever
or
they're called.
Gadot?
I said Cadow. I kind of
Cadow.
thought of it like the same way like you'd say Caillou, like
Mm.
Cadow. I don't know.
That makes sense. But we stab it and then cut to black. Turns out we're stabbing Donna in the face.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
It was fucked up.
It was
And,
good,
like-
it was a good little closer of like
Yeah.
good way to like leave you questioning what was real and what was not. You know.
Yeah, and like you never saw, like the only time you ever saw her face before this was on paintings.
Mhm.
Like she had like a painting of like her like holding Angie, like when you step into the house, and when you met the 4 lords at the beginning of the game, like she was there, but she has like black drapes over her face, like you don't even know what she looks like. But like at this point, it's like it's almost kind of like you sympathize for this person that you just stabbed in the face, with a knife or
Mhm.
with a pair of scissors. And it's just like half of her face is kind of like this tentacle looking thing, but the other half is just like this tragic, like,
Normal person.
lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a normal human being. And I don't know.
It's a good one too. Like with the
Yeah.
lore, like Claudia, we find out was like her sister that died when
Yep.
she was 9, I think, and
Yep.
that's what Angie is right to her.
Yeah.
And it's good, like all of them have like a little bit of the backstory, but that was the one that made them. I liked how all the pieces kind of fit together for that.
Yeah.
She's probably been experimenting on villagers since her sister died. So yeah,
Probably. A lot of these characters in Resident Evil lore are just so traumatized that they're like, I'm gonna start doing some really messed up stuff to people. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
Like Luke,
I guess that's how
Lucas.
you get over your trauma.
Yeah, Lucas is like the key fucked up Resident Evil character of RE7 too. Of like the kid
Yeah.
he locked up in his roof until he decomposed. Like
God,
super fucked up
I
stuff.
gotta play that game again.
It's so good. And plus,
Yeah.
it'll feel like very much not that scary after playing Resident Evil 8. I feel.
Well, those first 2 hours still might be a little
A little
bit
spooky.
much. Yeah, just a little, but
Then we after we stab Donna in the face, we look over to see a pedestal magically rising with the second flask, and it's time to get the fuck out, as the
Yep.
kids say. Do you wanna call it here?
yeah, I'd say that's probably a good spot. Yeah.
Yeah, let me see. I think we're an hour 5. That's a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is through House Beneviento. Great. Just love this part of this game so much. I
Yeah.
was so excited to talk about
And
this.
it never overstays its welcome.
Exactly. It's just it
Um,
is the right amount of time. I felt.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
like if you think about it in comparison point to RE7, like very similar to the boat section with Mia, where they kind of take all your weapons away and then she gets her own pistol, and you kind of have to eventually figure your way out through there. This is similar of like it brings you back down to 0 so that way it can build the tension back up on top of it.
Yep.
But it's like so early on comparatively. Like we just got this big kind of very exploratory section with the castle, and now this is a much more tighter section, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Especially like thinking of it, the second part of RE7 is Marguerite's house, the old house, and I this is just feels like a way better like second part comparatively to that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. Resident Evil
Big
8,
fan.
good game.
Very good game. Everyone should play it.
Cool. Then we'll finish. We'll probably finish next time talking about. We've got Moreau. We've
Yep.
got the what's it? The Stronghold, and the Factory left ahead of us. So we'll be back next Friday to talk about those. Before we close out here, just a couple of quick little reminders of housekeeping. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm AlFighter27. Andrew's at Papa Drew Bear. You can subscribe to Irrational Passions right here on YouTube for all the other episodes of Raccoon City Radio, Season 3 that'll be coming, and hopefully some episodes with some guests going up every Friday for the foreseeable future. Sorry about the delay of the first episode. I had to get my computer fixed, but we're back on track now.
Thank you, Apple. Appreciate it.
Thank you for getting my computer fixed. And I think that's it. Anything else? Any other last words of wisdom, Andrew?
No, I don't think so. You said your Twitter handle, right?
I got YouTube.
Oh, me too. Sorry.
gotcha.
I don't think there's anything else. I'd probably say like we'll probably finish up the game by next episode, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll do like an extended. I don't know.
We could always do like a closing episode where we do just the end and then just talk about our theories. That might be good too.
Yeah, we might do that. So maybe there's 2 more episodes, main episodes left, and then a couple of guest episodes that we'll have. So yeah, lots of more stuff coming though. you
Yeah,
know,
I guess
for
it's-
people to talk about.
It's worth
stuff.
noting E3's coming up. Rational Passions gonna be doing a ton of stuff for E3. We'll be watching along and reacting and doing post shows for all the major shows. So stay tuned.
Christmas
for that.
in June, baby.
Christmas in June. Christmas for video games.
Yeah.
So look out for that. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay alive, and keep surviving.
Main episodes left, and then a couple of guest episodes that we'll have. So yeah, lots of more stuff coming though.
Yeah, I guess
for
it's-
people to talk about.
It's worth
stuff.
noting E3's coming up. Rational Passions gonna be doing a ton of stuff for E3. We'll be watching along and reacting and doing post shows for all the major shows. So stay tuned.
Christmas
for that.
in June, baby.
Christmas in June. Christmas for video games.
Yeah.
So look out for that. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay alive, and keep surviving.